about the things
I'll worship you,
Live to love, love to live.
And he's always providing for me, and he's my God, my God. You make me happy.
This is forever.
It's a beautiful day here at the Corner Cafe. Thank you so much for joining us. We sure do hope you enjoy what we've been brewing up.
Over coffee, we'll chase the day away at the Corner Cafe.
Welcome to Corner Cafe. This is where we share the story and heart of an artist. I am your host, Rachel Maines,
And I am your Jamie Daniel, and I almost cut you off, Rachel.
you're so excited.
I am. I'm very excited. Very excited. Traffic was heavy, but we got here.
Yeah,
So
you
that's a
got
good
your
thing.
coffee and Altoids right in front of you as well.
Well, when I drink coffee, I don't want to be, talking to people with my, husses and shushes all in their faces. So I have to get the right, right warriors in my mouth.
Right. Well, we always start off the show talking about God's creation.
Yes, we do, and it's been great. It's been like fabulous, Rachel. Really been good.
And you had a great idea, Jamie. You said, let's talk about miracles.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that is so intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Even atheist doctors, they've had to admit on occasion the miracle of someone's healing.
Right. Right.
Something that's totally not explainable via science and reason.
Yes.
And I believe that even people who don't believe in a God have to admit, that was a miracle, right?
I know. It's so funny that you say that, because doctors, we love them. God bless them. They do a great job. And remember, they are practicing medicine. They aren't, yet they are professionals, but they're practicing. And
Right.
so it's beautiful to see that when a doctor, that may not be a believer, that he'll look at a situation, he goes like, I don't know how to explain this. This was an act of God. This is a miracle.
Right. And I believe that the Lord, obviously, he does miracles. Sometimes he holds off on miraculous things, but he chooses, he's sovereign.
Yes, he is.
Over that. And what a great testimony to that unbeliever to start searching, at least having their heart open to, hey, maybe there is a creator.
Right.
And from that point being like, who is the creator?
Yes.
And of course, we know him to be Jesus. He is Jesus. He's the Alpha and the Omega. And how he came to the earth. He chose to come, and it said in Genesis too,
Yes.
that he's going to come. That was prophesied in Genesis, that he would come through a woman.
Right.
So a miracle birth.
A miracle birth,
Holy
absent of a
Spirit.
man.
Yep, absent of a man, miracle birth, and that is one of the greatest miracles recorded in the Bible.
Yes, and I commend Joseph out there for going through the miracle birth. I mean, because back in that time, I mean,
Yeah.
there was like no way.
But did not an angel also appear to Joseph?
I think it did to kind of calm his
Check
spirit.
us on that, listeners.
Speak to him.
Yeah, I think that
because
an angel did.
He would have been one irate brother.
Right, I'm certain an angel had to say, "Hey,
Right.
this is legit."
Well, the custom
Amy's
was,
telling-
the custom was to stone them.
Yeah.
For something like that. And wow, I mean, just think about that. I mean, there's no internet, there's no telephone, there's no video cameras, no proof, that she was telling the truth. But it was a miracle birth.
Right.
Amen.
We'll have to check to see that passage where the angel spoke to Joseph.
Right. I think you're right, Rachel. I believe he did.
Yeah.
Somebody had to
Right.
calm that man down.
Yeah, but beautiful story of our Lord's birth.
It is. It's a very beautiful story.
Well, we're going to take a listen to our song Spotlight. Nicole, what is it?
Our song spotlight tonight, I thought that we would enjoy a little Lifeline by Under the Sun.
Got a fire in my soul, 'cause I'm not going up into the sky, who rains on from above with a fresh and stylish love. This one is for my king. Shalom is what I say. Shalom, the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. Shalom, the way it's supposed to be. I just need you to lifeline. I just need you to lifeline. I just need you lifeline. I just need you lifeline. Not going back to Babylon. Not going back to Babylon. We're not going back to Babylon. Not going back to Babylon. Down below, you gotta lift your Lord high, straight up into the sky, who rains down from above with a fresh and shiny love. This one is for the King. Shalom, shalom. I just need your lifeline. I just need your lifeline. Whoa, I just need your lifeline. 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 I just need your lifeline.
That was our song Spotlight on Corner Cafe. Hey, we're going to go to a break, but we have one of our favorites back on, Darla Rae. She's a filmmaker.
Yes.
She has a new project that she's going to talk about. Stay tuned.
Hope, faith, truth. KLDC 1220 AM.
To non-believers, the Ten Commandments look like a bunch of rules and regulations meant to give you a boring life. To the contrary, these commandments are intended to free your life from junk. No man can live perfectly, and that's why we need Jesus. Have you asked for that grace and forgiveness offered through Christ?
Things that make you go, Your Crawford Broadcasting Company, God and Country Station.
Welcome back to Corner Cafe, and we have one of our favorites on the phone. We have Darla Rae. We're going to take a listen to Girls Like Me. Here it is.
I fall down, scrape a knee, let out tears, not because I'm weak. Hold deep the pain so I can breathe. Get back up and be a girl like me. I keep close every little scar. Tuck away those deadly dangers to my heart. I get to know them all intimately. That's the fate of the world for girls like me. I'm a warrior, I'm a champion. Even if you break me down, you can size me up, but there's so much more to me. fearless and valiant, a soldier of the here and now, and there's one of me as far as the eye can see. No, I won't back down. No, there's no surrender. I left home, stood on my own, found my courage, it became my throne. I broke the rules when I would not retreat. I lit a fire that burns inside of me. I'm a warrior, I'm a champion. Even if you break me down, you can size me up, but there's so much more to me. I'm fearless and valiant, a soldier of the here and now, and there's one of me as far as the eye can see. Yes, we are warriors and champions. You won't tear us down. We found our hearts, it's all we need. Fearless and valiant, soldiers of the here and now, and there's one of us as far as the eye can see. We all know hurt, honestly, broke the rules, we would not retreat, held deep the pain so we could breathe. We lit a fire for girls like me. There's no surrender for girls like me. We lit a fire for girls like me.
That was Girls Like Me on Corner Cafe, and we have Darla Rae, filmmaker, on the phone. Welcome back to Corner Cafe, Darla.
Welcome, Darla.
Hey, thank you guys.
Wish we could see you in
I'm
person.
so happy to be here again.
Yeah, woohoo!
Well, we always love having you. You're
next
awesome.
time you're going to be in studio.
Yes, definitely.
But
Yes, that would be great.
yeah, but you're up to a lot of exciting things. Fill us in.
Well, it's almost 3 years ago I started the journey of making a documentary about breast cancer survivors.
Nice.
And in the course of that journey, some local friends of mine, Timothy Buckman and Turi Alita, and Turi is also a survivor, they wrote a beautiful song called Girls Like Me
Nice.
for the film. And then we got an idea, let's make a music video. And the music video has taken off, and it's been in lots of festivals, and it got picked up by MC1 and Sony Orchard out of Nashville. So that's been released, and now it's time for us to start pushing the documentary out.
Very
and the
nice.
documentary is
Wow.
Courageous Warriors, Beauty from the Ashes.
Wow. So, Darla, you have a heart to really get to the heart of things, if you will. Your style is a bit different than the average filmmaker. How would you describe how your style is different and a little more nuanced in what you do?
Well, for me, I never set out to be the awareness filmmaker.
Right.
But I felt like it was really a calling, and I feel like it still is a calling, that if there's a subject matter that is near and dear to my heart, then it's near and dear to somebody else's heart as well.
Right.
And I'm always amazed at the testimonies and the stories that come back that you don't anticipate.
Right.
I mean, this movie's not even out yet, and people are calling me and asking me questions. And I'm like, well, I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you what I've learned from dealing with survivors and caregivers and things like that. So my approach is, I thought the documentary was going to be about a different set of people that are involved in breast cancer, which would have been these lovely women that fit other women for mastectomy bras. But in the course of meeting with those ladies and having lunch with those ladies, they kept telling me, you need to meet this person. You need to meet this person. She's extraordinary. They've done this. They've done that. And so really, that's when I felt like, no, that's the God nudge, you know. That's the one like, nope, you go in this direction with this project.
Right.
Right.
And so I just pay attention to that. And, you know, the guys that have worked with me, they kept saying, I thought we were going this way. And I said, nope, we're going this way. And so that's really my approach, you know. And, like, I'll be honest, I woke up in the middle of the night and I wrote down Courageous Warriors, Beauty from the Ashes. I did not ever have that title. I do believe that came from God.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what, Darla, I'm listening to you, and my next question was going to be, which with such a huge endeavor of what you're doing with regarding cancer survivors, I was going to say, how do you select? I mean, how do you know who to select? And basically, you just interview one person.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah, that's been tough. Because, you know, you get to the point, we interviewed over 100 people for the documentary. And I think there's a total of 22 to 24 in the movie.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It is, but it moves very quickly. It's a 90-minute documentary. So in many cases, we interviewed their caregiver, which was their spouse or like a daughter or something like that.
Okay.
And then the individuals who have actually gone through the journey of breast cancer, including we have one man who had breast cancer, and he also had been a caregiver for his wife many years ago. So he had a different perspective on the topic from everybody else.
Right. Now, Darla,
So
is that
sometimes you
rare
line up
to
people
have a
who say-
man?
Pardon me?
I'm sorry, is that rare to have a man with...
Well, it's much rarer than women, but actually a larger percentage of the males diagnosed with it have died from it because they don't think that they can get it. So they don't necessarily check themselves like women do.
Right, that's true.
But I wanted to present his story for that purpose.
Exactly, yeah.
So the guys know that they can get it, you know. But as far as your question in regards to who do you put in and who you don't,
right?
Whether the person ended up on the screen or not, they still helped sculpt the film because they may say something that, you know, 5 people may say the same thing, but it comes down to who is more compelling on camera.
Right.
And it really comes down to the director's choice.
So it's really an audition of sorts, you know.
Because it's really hard to tell somebody, you're not in the film.
Yeah, that's tough. But you have such a sweet personality. So
Pardon me?
You have such a sweet personality. So I know that the way you talk to people and address people, you make people feel valued either way.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, when someone's sharing their intimate details of this horrific battle that they've been thrust into and they don't really know which way is up, you know, you have to really be sensitive to that. And, you know, some of these people have been on this journey for years. They've been 40-year survivor, and every year when they come back to it's time to go have a mammogram or a checkup, that post-traumatic stress kicks in because they're like, oh my God, am I going to have something else wrong now?
Right.
And so that that goes into the mental health area, and everybody, they deal with it differently. And some don't even know that's what they have.
Right.
Yeah.
You know. And,
Darla.
And what has happened with these incredible human beings, they had the wherewithal to create these beautiful programs and nonprofits that are free of charge to other individuals that are now going through the battle of breast cancer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's
And
great.
to have that wherewithal to do that when they're on the other side of the battle, they didn't have to do that.
Right.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And I'm blown away by some of the stuff they've created.
Yeah, I mean, what a life-changing film. But
Yeah,
all your
absolutely.
films are like this.
Mm-hmm.
What is the number one thing in this film that you hope that the viewer will take away from this particular film?
That it's not just the individual being diagnosed, the caregiver and the immediate family and friends are just as shell-shocked.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
And
point.
so that they all need to rally around each other and advocate for their person.
Right.
Because sometimes, I mean, I ended up caring for my mom when she had breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second time it came back, my father cared for her. And I realized in this film, making it, I never asked my dad how he was doing.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was asked to come and take care of my girlfriend at the end of her life. She, unfortunately, both of them passed away from breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up in the same exact situation at the end of her life as I did with my mother. And I thought, how did I have to do this twice in a lifetime?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when you find yourself in the back of an ambulance at a hospital, riding with somebody that you love
Mm-hmm.
to a hospice, and you have nowhere to go with those emotions.
Right.
Wow. Wow, that's tough, Darla.
And so I remember thinking the second time with my girlfriend, okay, there must be a reason for this, why this is happening.
Right.
And I wasn't going to tell my story. But when I realized that we had all males that were caregivers, I thought, no, I need to tell my story because it's going to help somebody else down the road to be prepared for, well, not everybody gets a happy ending.
Right.
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 Right. Wow. Very powerful conversation. We're going to continue with this conversation after we listen to Chris Tomlin. Here's a song by Chris Tomlin.
Morning, I see you in the sunrise every morning. It's like a picture that you've painted for
was Chris Tomlin, and we have our friend Darla Rae on the phone. Darla, you are educating us for sure. I have never experienced so far in life someone that I know having breast cancer, but something that you really have highlighted in the conversation that now I am thinking about is the family and friends, the caretakers also are experiencing tremendous emotions. They too can go through PTSD regarding this. And my question to you, I'm super curious, is there support groups regarding this? If so, I'm sure there's different ones around.
Yes.
And,
you know, and as well as, you know, people pull from their church community as well.
Right.
You know, and that's what the one gentleman who's in our film talks about. You know, I never survived, he said, if it hadn't been for my church group.
Wow.
And sometimes, you know, you find yourself, I used to go get in the car and just sit in my car and just like I needed that space, but it was like you just sit there and stare.
Right.
Because you kind of have to step away from the situation so you could even think.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so they do have groups that are for caregivers. They seem to be getting better at that, but not everybody is offered that, and that's what this movie is about. We have a nonprofit group called Hope Held by a Horse. It's an equine therapy group that was started specifically by a survivor for breast cancer survivers. But they also, the day I first went out to shoot that group, when we were filming, it was with nurse navigators. And that's another component that a lot of people don't know to ask for.
Right.
So the nurse navigators they brought in so that they could know firsthand how the program works, and that then they can send their patients and say, hey, when you're further down the road, this might be a great way for you to get some healing through a process with people that have been through that kind of a journey.
Right.
And one of the things they're wanting to do is expand to caregivers, but also outside of Colorado.
Oh, great.
So everything that we're dealing with are programs that have been started in Colorado that we're starting to help push them out into other states to be able to help more people.
Great.
Wow.
Yeah, because as a caregiver, you got to be strong for your person, but then you can't talk about the struggles of being strong with that person.
Correct.
It's like, who do you talk to? And if someone who's not even going through that, certainly they can give an ear and be comforting, but really you need to be around other people in that exact situation to be able to get their feedback and get some healing, and so people can relate to what you're going through.
Right. And, you know, people think that they've dealt with it emotionally.
Right.
And then, like, 15 years down the road, you know, they're like, oh, I'm going to go to this program with my friend who's just now going through breast cancer. You know, she's just a year or two out. And then they find out, wow, I burst into tears because I've never dealt with any of that.
Right.
Wow.
With the emotion.
Hey, Darla, I want to ask you a question. I want to go back to this amazing documentary that you're doing. In a lot of senses, when you're doing a film that's not a documentary, they're just actors coming in. They do their spot, and they're done. Go back to their trailer, or they go back, whatever. With this is a lot different because you not only, like as you said before, you've interviewed so many people. I assume that you've developed a lot of relationships, personal and close friendships with a lot of these people. How does that impact your thinking ability going forward, trying to put all this amazing footage and amazing stories and amazing people all in one thing that says this is the final product? How does that all come about with developing the friendships?
You know, a lot of people have worked on this project. Sometimes I have different shooters on different days or whatever. I have women, I have men, you know, that have worked on it. But there's been one consistent person, and that's my main shooter and editor. And so when you're going over this over and over and over, you have to kind of turn off the emotion a lot of times.
Right.
But sometimes you just can't. And all of a sudden it's like, I need a break. I got to go outside for a second.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there are places in the film that I've probably seen it at least 100 times, if not more, at this point. And it's still, it just, bam, you become so emotional. And, you know, you can't, it's like somebody says, well, you got to take your head off and leave it over there and put this hat on, and it doesn't work that way because they are human beings, and you do know their life story now, and they've let you in intimately, and you want to present them in the best light possible.
Right.
For example, I have a friend who, a couple that I've known for years. Their kids have worked with me in film and such. And she was diagnosed last July. And I thought, ooh. She had a couple questions for me, and I said, you know, this is tough, but I want to put it out there to you. I don't have anybody that represents that piece of the story. Everybody else in the documentary, they're on the other side. And she said, no, I don't think I want to do that. I said, okay, that's fine. And then a couple of weeks later, she called me and she said, can I still be in it? And I said, okay, sure. And I said, what are you thinking? And she goes, well, I thought long and hard. And I thought, who am I not to help tell this journey so that there are others that know I can maybe take a little of that fear away from them.
Right.
That's a pretty strong individual to say. I mean, when I say this is raw, she was diagnosed in the middle of the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Nobody was allowed to go in with her. And she took her phone in, and she would have them take images for me. You know, her in the hospital bed all alone.
Right.
You know, very raw photos of after, you know, she's had her surgery, and the pieces of things that we would have had to go buy or look for, and she opted to really lay her heart out there. And one of the other ladies in the film, she's another friend of ours, she's 15 years out, and she's an ER doc. And she said, okay, I need to help you because I've been down this piece before. And so it's just been this beautiful storyline working in all these other little pieces, and they've all been given back to each other, not even realizing all the connections. When they come to see the private screening next week, they're going to be shocked at how they are all connected and didn't know it.
Wow. So, Darla, would you say that obviously you're a believer and you've seen the Lord work in your films in such a way to kind of connect the dots between the tapestry of what you're saying, and you've been surprised too, it sounds like, as we've gotten to know you, like, wow, Lord, you really made that amazing, and how you connected the dots and how you added this in there. Kind of explain to our listeners how that happens with you on a film project.
Oh my goodness. It's what you hear the voice of the Holy Spirit, and you have to, you know, over the time I've been doing this for 23 years here in Colorado alone.
Right.
And so, like I said, I think sometimes I'm thinking, okay, I think this is the shot, and all of a sudden it's like there's this tap on my shoulder, and sometimes I do feel like there is somebody there, and then I look and there isn't.
Right.
And it's like, no, over here is what you need to capture. Or, like, for example, I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to sew all these interviews together with transitional shots, but I had this idea. I mean, I did not have this idea at all, and it was so vivid. I have dreams that are very vivid. And it was like God showed me what it was supposed to be. So we have this image of this woman dressed as a warrior out in the climbing up the mountain in the wilderness with a sword, and I just learned to listen.
That would make sense,
And
Darla Rae, that you would have vivid dreams since you're a filmmaker.
I know, right?
yeah, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, that's enough of the dreams, you know. But you know, it's happened numerous times. The other thing that happens that I know that it's God is that, like, for example, recently a friend contacted me and he said, "You're a survivor, right?" And I said, "Cancer? No." I said, "I'm just making a movie." And he says, "Oh." And I said, No, why oh? And he explained that he was just diagnosed with aggressive bladder cancer. And he said, "Could I ask you some questions?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Well, I'm having difficulty. I need to get this prescription, and I'm having a hard time, and I have to be able to give myself an injection, and yada, yada, all this stuff." And he said, I don't know how to make it happen." I said, "Wait. Did they give you a nurse navigator or a patient navigator?" He said, "No." And I said, "Then you need to call them up and tell them you need and want a navigator. Because most people don't always get that, but they are available."
Right.
And so what that does is it just takes all of that worry off their plate. And then he shared that he was so upset that he got angry with his wife. And he said, I just feel horrible. And I said, "Okay, look, this is going to happen. You were frustrated. You weren't angry at her. She couldn't fix it. You couldn't fix it." And he was like, "I just don't understand." I said, "Well, you're not alone, because, you know, I've been a caregiver for my sister now for 4.5 years. There are just times where that frustration takes over."
Right.
So I was explaining it to him, and I realized, oh my gosh, he doesn't even have breast cancer, and he's calling me for information.
Right.
And that's happened 3 times in the last week alone.
Wow.
And so every time I make a film, I realize it's not just me making a film. It becomes a ministry. And
Right.
You know, you're holding someone's hand because they don't have anybody physically there to hold it with them physically, so you're emotionally holding them up.
Right.
Wow, some powerful stuff, Darla Rae.
Great interview.
We're going to go to a break. We'll be back, though, with more. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Revelations for your salvation. KLDC 1220 and on the TuneIn app.
Have you taught your children how to pray?
God is great.
Do they know who they're talking to?
God is good.
Have you taught them the power of prayer?
Let us thank Him.
Do they know that prayer leads to intimacy with God?
For this pizza!
Teach your children that prayer is not another nursery school rhyme, but a face-to-face conversation with their best friend. A message from the National Day of Prayer Task Force.
Welcome back to Corner Cafe. This is where we share the story and heart of an artist. We have Darla Rae on the phone, but first we're going to listen to a Lauren Daigle tune. Here it is.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I'm held when I am falling short. And when I don't belong, oh, you say I am yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe the only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. Ooh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I am held when I am falling short. When I don't belong, oh, you say I am yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. Oh, I believe.
And that was Lauren Daigle on Corner Cafe, and we have filmmaker Darla Rae on the phone. Very powerful conversation, Darla Rae. One thing is we were talking about was how listening to your stories really get us thinking about compassion, how
Yeah.
we can truly be there for somebody, because we're so busy in our everyday lives. We're very distracted. And I think sometimes we think, well, how can I really help somebody? What can I really do? And maybe we think too much about it versus just a simple, hey, maybe I just need to be in the room with them, hold their hand, just smile. I think we put too much thought into how we can be helpful, and we just don't realize just being there and showing up is super helpful.
Very good point.
Yeah, showing up is half the battle, you know.
Right.
One of our survivors is a ER doc, and she also was a flight surgeon in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty tough cookie.
Yeah.
And, you know, everybody that's in the film has their beauty from the ashes.
Mm-hmm.
Some have created where they make pure CBD and give it away to others that need it, or they make salve to help people with burns from radiation. And, I mean, they're not selling them; they are just doing it and giving it to them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked her, I said, "What do you think your beauty from the ashes is?" And she said, "You know, I always thought I was compassionate as a doctor. But I think now I have more empathy."
Wow.
And she said her first night back after her surgeries and everything, she said we weren't busy, and a woman came in who had had a mastectomy and had some difficulties with pain, and they have these drains and everything that they have to clean out. And she said, I started to leave the room, and she said, I just stopped, and I sat down, and she said, I told her, I know you're not going to believe this, but I was where you are not that long ago. And she took time, and she just sat there and talked to her. She was all alone. She didn't have any family. And, that probably I'm sure it changed the whole trajectory for that woman.
Right.
And, we hear this over and over because there's another woman who's a nurse and became a nurse navigator after her experience. And she said she met somebody that was, a couple years ahead of her in her recovery. And she said, I looked at her and I thought, wow, she's strong. She's got young kids like me. She's recovered well, this and that. She goes, and I thought immediately, I'm going to be her for other women.
Right.
That's who I'm going to be. And she said, I want people to know that I've walked your walk. I've walked down that path, and I'm going to walk beside you.
Wow.
And, I think sometimes people in medicine, they get, and my sister's a retired nurse practitioner. My daughter's a nurse practitioner. And sometimes, for example, they are so overloaded at the hospital with cases that they don't always have that time. And I think, I would hope that the medical community would try to circumvent that in a way that allows nursing to go back to being more compassionate.
Right.
Right.
I mean, let's face it, there was a reason they called it Nurse Nightingale, because, she was a nurse way back when, and she was known for taking care of people.
Right.
Now, Darla,
but,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
We all can be compassionate with somebody.
Oh,
right, absolutely.
You may not understand it, but you can still be compassionate and say, what can I do for you?
Right.
What would make you feel good right now? If someone says, I want a steak, I'm going to go get a steak and I'll cook them a steak.
Right.
You just don't, it may be very simple.
Right.
It may be just, can you just sit here with me so I'm not alone?
Right.
It's true.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because we think, like I said, I think we overthink it. Like, oh, I don't have time to give 5 hours today.
Right.
Versus, hey, I'm going to cook myself a steak. I'm going to cook this person a steak, and I'm going to drop that on by and just say, hey, thinking of you. Something like that. I think we overthink it and don't think about the little blessings we can do. I want to shift gears real quick just to do our espresso question, Darla Rae. I don't know if you remember. It's express yourself, just a fun little question. This is perfect for you. I saw this and I was like, this is it. So, what would be on a gag reel of your life? What would be on a gag reel of your life, Darla Rae?
A gag reel? Oh, gosh. A gag reel. Well, that's a tough one. Let me think.
Well, we know you've had a very...
I like...
Oh, sorry. Go for it.
Go ahead.
Well, I just said we know you've had a very interesting life.
Yeah.
And, you've had a lot of adventures. So even like something adventurous or just a fun, amazing moment in your life.
There's so many that when I find myself like where am I today? I'm out in the middle of the Red Rocks in the snow, lighting a fire to burn up a shield for a movie. Who would have thought?
Right.
So, there's those kinds of crazy things, but the gag reel probably is that, I've done a lot of acting stuff, so there's probably lots of bad takes of, giggling or laughing or whatever. But
Right.
I do think probably the thing is, I remember one time I was down in Georgia, and this older gentleman said, "Oh, you want to see my fishing hole?" And I was like, "Okay, this is out. we're at the Georgia School for the Deaf." And I said, "You guys got a fishing hole here?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." So we got in this golf cart and we rode out to this little lake. And he's like, "Come on, we're going to fish." And I'm like, "Okay." And he had his poles out there, and we actually sat there and fished.
Aww.
And I thought to myself, thinking, I find myself in these kinds of situations because of the the films I'm allowed to do.
Right.
Right.
And it would probably be like, it's kind of like, where's Waldo? Where's Darla? She's out fishing today. She's lighting fire over there.
Right.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, these really memorable moments where you wouldn't think that you'd be doing that in that situation, but all of a sudden you're like, okay, I came here to do this, but now I'm taking a break. I'm fishing with this guy.
Yeah.
What a great memory.
You know what? Those are gifts.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are the gifts.
Right.
And it's like when I went out to shoot with the horses. I'm a little fearful, I'll be honest, of horses. They're huge.
Yeah, they are.
I think they're the most beautiful creatures. They have the most beautiful eyes. And this horse came over like 5 feet away and just head-butted me in the stomach.
Ooh, wow.
And I thought, oh, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, I need to back away. And one of the therapists said, no, don't do that. They're trying to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
What came to your mind the minute that what's her name? Sassy. What a perfect name, right? She was sassy.
Right.
And when she headbutted you, and I said, truthfully? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, my stomach was a little uptight when it came this morning because I wasn't sure what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but the other part of it was she hit me so hard that sometimes you feel like in life itself hits you so hard, and sometimes it knocks you down.
Good point.
And you have to get back up.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it hits you so hard that you go, wait a minute, look at me, I'm still standing.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And that was what came to my mind immediately when that happened. And she said, well, horses will also touch you someplace on your body if there's something that's bothering you in that area.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
That is really cool.
It is so remarkable.
Yeah.
And when I left that day, I thought, whew, boy, Lord, if every person who is diagnosed with breast cancer or other cancers or anything like that is allowed to have that kind of a day with the horses out in nature working with the therapist,
mm-hmm.
and they feel as good as I did when I left, then I'm for everybody having that experience.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Well,
and we hope that that's what we get to bring to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, I love those examples.
Mm-hmm.
Very out of the box and very fun.
Mm-hmm.
God's smiling down on you at these special, precious moments. Now, Darla Rae, how can our listeners catch the film, get in touch with you?
Yeah, because we know that there's a private screening coming up. But
they can look up our page on Facebook, Courageous Warriors, Beauty from the Ashes.
mm-hmm.
They can go to my website, film-itproductions.com. Film, right now we're just getting ready to submit it to festivals and distributors.
Okay.
So it's not out yet, but they could follow us on Facebook.
Okay.
They can share it with others if they have people in other states that might be interested in the equine therapy group. We can connect them to the right people.
Right.
So we put everything on the Facebook page for the film.
Great.
Awesome. So is there an actual premiere for when you release it for the social media or for just like for the general public? Is there a premiere for that?
Not at this point.
Okay.
Because if you do public premieres, it disqualifies you for festivals.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Okay.
And it can affect your distribution opportunities.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, we're having a private screening for a couple media people if they're interested in covering the story of our film.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that we were blessed to have is Dee Wallace from the movie E.T. Most people know her from E.T. She narrates the film for us.
Oh, very nice.
So that's very helpful, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a little private screening for our survivors and their caregivers. And I want everybody to look around the theater in the room and say, look at all these people, and all you guys help make this film.
Yeah.
Wow.
To give as a gift to others.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Wow. Well, thank you, Darla Rae, for
Thank you
everything
so
that you
much.
are doing. And of course, we'll have you back on the Corner Cafe. Just an inspiration. And, your personality, just with everybody that you connect with, you kind of are like a caregiver to everybody, like in the media industry. It's like,
my mother told me that a long time ago.
Yeah.
She said I wore my heart on my sleeve.
Aw, but we love it. And you touch
that's
a lot
awesome.
of lives. So
Thank
keep
you so
doing
much.
what you're doing.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate
thank you,
having
Darla.
me on.
We'll be in touch.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, Darla.
All right. Take care.
Take
All
care.
right, God bless.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Aw, amazing interview.
Great
Love
interview.
this lady's heart.
We
and
could
her
just
films.
we could just let Darla go.
We could.
And then she just
for 3 more hours.
Yeah, 3 more
and
hours,
so
and
entertaining.
she will allow us to visualize the entire documentary by her talking. Incredible.
Yes.
So guys, check that out. Go to our website at cornercaferadio.com, and then you'll see some feature stuff on there, so we can get you linked in to this amazing film that will certainly touch everyone's heart.
Absolutely. Well, stay tuned.
I love coffee, I love tea, I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and me, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup